Okay, so this week's project, need a dashboard in my E30 drift car. This one is going to take too much cutting around, and it's already had a lot of cutting around because it's been fitted previously. So the problem we're up against is where it's had the new cage, or where I put the new cage in, this bar is probably a little bit too high to get that stock dashboard in. So I want to make a fiberglass one to get over that bar. I've tried getting this one in. We're just going to end up cutting this out because it's so thick. To get over that top bar, basically going to have to remove it and either fiberglass or put another piece in there, which is just a palaver. It's probably going to be easy just to make a fiberglass dash. Obviously it's going to be lighter than the one that was in there anyway. So first job to do. This dash isn't great, but it'll do the job. It's not got too many cracks in, which will probably upset the E30 boys. So we're going to blank off all the holes. I'm just going to use alley plate, because I've got some laying around, just to fill in the big gaps, and then we'll get the filler out, and fill it all down, smooth it off, and seal it to make a buck for a mould. Okay, so we've cut out some plates. Fill in all the gaps in as much as we can. I'll just use some aluminium I had laying around because it was easy. I suppose we could do it with bits of plastic or whatever you've got laying around. But, so just rough cutting them out, basically just trying to get them filling in the gaps, and then we'll actually stick these in with body filler, and then we'll start to smooth it all over and smooth it all out. So this bottom plate here, that dashboard is pretty unsightly, that bit. Truth be known, probably going to have to cut most of that out of the finished product anyway to fit it over the electric power steering unit that's in the car. So it's quite bulky and it sits up in there, but we're just filling these in, and then basically we're going to stick the plates in with body filler, and then we'll start to work on the edges, smoothing them all out. With fiberglass, you don't want really sharp defined edges. It's really hard to get the fiberglass to sit in those, so we're going to mellow all those edges out, some nice rounded edges, and that'll help the end product look pretty reasonable. So again, the top piece obviously is a big hole. We've tried to cut it out already and fill that in. So just a nice plate sit on the top, and it just gives us a key to start working with the fiberglass. And then with the vents at the back, I thought the quickest way is probably just to get some cardboard cutouts to sit in the vent holes, and that'll just give us a key to start filling over the top. Smooth all that out. Obviously we've got some cracks here. Pretty much I want a smooth finish on the dashboard. I don't want this stippled effect, so I'm just going to give it a real light hit with a filler. Basically the whole dashboard, we'll just smooth everything out as much as we can. Fiberglassing, from what I see, is pretty much like painting, so it's 98% in the prep of your original buck. Gives you the best finished job. So the actual fiberglassing part at the end, like the final fiberglassing procedure, is pretty straightforward, but if the buck's no good to begin with, you're only going to get a rubbish job. So probably going to be a day at least, getting all these panels glued in and start smoothing these edges down. So yeah, it's quite a long drawn out process, but put the time in, hopefully the finished product won't be too bad. It's my first time fiberglassing a mould, or making a mould, so yeah, wish me luck. We'll see how this one goes. Okay, so we filled in all the apertures with blanks, and you can see I've put some body filler in there, smoothed all the holes down. I've actually filled in the air vents completely, and as you can see from the glistening, the sanding, it took a long time. Like, yeah, I was saying a couple of days, more like a few weeks of playing. What I did learn was that body filler's rubbish. Takes far too long to sand back, so I actually started using normal plaster filler, just a quick sanding. Takes a little longer to go off, obviously, but makes the sanding a lot less intense. And then what I've done, So now I've got the plug. So there were some holes down here I've actually filled with potting clay and then silver taped over the top. And then what I've actually done now is sealed, or begin to seal the mould. So I've given it a good clean down with thinners, roughed up all the plastic on the dashboard that's bare, so it's got some sort of key, and then I've actually used 2-pack floor sealer. So we're going to give that a go. The reason being, you could do it with lacquer, but it's just really expensive. Big 4-litre tub of floor sealer, 2-pack is probably going to do the job, I'm hoping. So we'll see how that goes. I'll just put the first coat on. I'm guessing I'm probably going to put 2 coats of that on, and then I might even do a bit of wet and dry sanding just to get it a nice smooth finish, as smooth as I can, and then we can start laying up and making the mould. So yeah, that's where we are at the moment. As you can see, I filled in the top recess. The reason I did that is the roll bar on my car sits particularly high. I think it's actually going to sit where this raised part of the dash is. So I had to cut that top glove box out anyway, so I filled it in and tried to smooth it off as much as I can. Smooth the sides off, doesn't really matter. I mean, all this is being cut out to go around the roll cage anyway, but yeah, just make it as pretty as we can. And then I filled in all the air vents along the back of the dash and smooth that down, so it's pretty reasonable looking. Anyway, it's my first go. We'll see what the outcome is. Okay, so I've just laid the gel coat on. So basically we're up to now, finished with two coats of sealer, lightly sanded back, ended up doing it with 2000 grit wet and dry, and then put some honey wax, glaze, mold release, so some honey mold release wax, 2 coats of that. I took the first coat off and then put a heavy second coat on and left it on the mold, and then just added the first coat, or the gel coat. So the gel coat's on now. Had a bit of a drama. The gel coat's been sat in the shed all summer, and it's gone really thick like syrup, but I just took a gamble and used it anyway. So you can see it's gone on there really thick. It's pretty thick. Not normally as thick as I'd use, but there we go. We'll see how that goes. And then got my sheets, got my offcuts ready. Got one sheet of 225 to go over it, and then I'll put 2 thicker weeds on. I'm not actually sure, they're probably about 450 by the look of it. Trouble is, when you're talking to the guys around here, a lot of them don't speak English, so impossible to know what you're buying sometimes. But yeah, I think it's 225, and I think the other one's like 450, somewhere around that. So three layers in total, and that should give me a decent strong mould. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this comes off and we end up with a nice dashboard. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so fiberglass. So I laid it up last night. Couldn't film because my camera was flat, so you've got the finished effects. It's not looking too bad. So I've just trimmed it all up with trimmed the edges up with a grinder. And then, well, I suppose I better flip it over and see if it'll come out the mould. That'll be the next thing. So I think we should film that, because it's probably going to be a disaster. It's all looking pretty good so far, but I'm, like always, I think with any fiberglassing, you dread the moment when you pop it out the mould and reveal, did it work or didn't it? So here we go. So, the camera switched off after 10 minutes, which is a bit of a pain. Anyway, good news. At about 15 minutes of struggling, it came out. It came out, and it doesn't look too bad at all. Certainly usable. Needs a bit of repair. I've just seen there's a bit of a bubble there. Gel coat's a bit weak. Didn't get into the corner there, but the bulk of it, the main bit, is looking pretty good. So we've got a bit of a repair work to do on that. We're going to tidy it all up, trim it down a bit. Probably just going to cut these edges off completely, because we don't really need them. Trim the back edge up, which doesn't look too bad, and that's it. We've got a mould. Alright, so mould's there, it's all ready to go, done the repairs. I'm going to try and lay up now quickly. So this is what I used last time. It's just honey wax, mould release agent. Pretty good stuff. Comes with a low applicator. Yellow, smells pretty good. Okay, so just mixed up my gel coat. I'm using some fresh stuff now, so we haven't got that issue of it being too thick like before. I've still got some of that left, but I can use that for smaller jobs, I think, where there's a bit less risk associated. So just did it was about 400 milliliters, I think. Added 8 milliliters of MEK. Mix that up, so that's ready to go. So we get some brushes. Let's get it on. Alright, so gel coat's on. Just a bit of dry mold reaction. It's not as bad as I had last time. So I think we've got away with it. You can see it's pretty orange peely. Might just be the gel coat. I've never used this one before. But I did have it happen. I did a test piece before I started all this, just on a bit of aluminium as a mould, and you can see there I thinned the gel coat out. That was that thick stuff I had. I thinned it out and then I waxed it, and then I put it on straight away, and it went all orange peely on the back side. But I carried on anyway, and it came out okay. The actual surface is alright, plenty usable. Just you can see the brush marks in it where I was brushing in to try and get rid of the orange peel. So with this, I just gave it a light coat, and then I went back over it again with another heavier coat. So we'll see what happens. Fiberglass, and it's always a voyage into the unknown from what I've learnt so far. Anyway, just going to carry on, touch up a few bits. The biggest issue I've got is I'm trying to gel coat over a white mould, which isn't easy. So it's just a case of walking around and keep touching it up as much as I can before it goes off. Well, we've got it laid up at last. Took a bit of work. Definitely fighting me. So I'm not quite sure what the problem was. Whether I didn't quite let the gel coat go off enough, or the gel coat was taking a long time to go off. And it's pretty late at night, and I've got to go to work tomorrow, so I was rushing somewhat. But it was tack dry, which is when I started laying up last time round for the mould. But what happened is when I put the fiberglass, it seemed to burn through the gel coat a bit. We ended up with a bit of a puddle of white mush, particularly down the bottom there, under there, what is a dash conical. So I kind of took the decision, well, we were that far in, right, just keep going now. You know, alright, it might not be perfect, but we might get something out of it. If we don't, we've learned something. So I carried on, and I'm pretty sure it was either I rushed the gel coat or the fact that I put quite a bit of thinners in the resin to loosen it up a bit, because we used a lot of resin, nearly a litre, which to me seems quite a lot for this job. So I put a lot of thinners in there to try and loosen it up, because the problem I'm finding is the resin is just not wetting up the fiberglass, just sitting on top like jelly, and that's because it's knackered. So my fault for using it. But I used it last time, I did the same, I thinned it down and it was all fine. This time we just ended up with a white globby puddle of muck in the bottom corners. Anyway, we've got it laid up. It's not come out too bad. It doesn't look too bad from the top here. Got some dirty bits of my fiberglass, which is where the black's coming from. It's amazing how much it shows up with dirt, where it's the fiberglass has not been stored too great. So yeah, there we go. I'm going to call it a night. I've got Jack Daniels and Coke on the go that my buddy brought down. That's the joys of working at a shed where your buddy lives. So he came down, threw some insults at me, as he always does, and supplied me with some Jack Daniels. And yeah, that's it. Kind of have a clean up, and then we'll come back tomorrow and see what we got. That's it, cool. We are out. There we go. Got ourselves a dashboard. And doesn't look too bad. So I was expecting problems with the gel coat, but it's not too bad. So I was definitely I was worried about problems here. It's actually pulled a bit of the mould out, which is no drama, that can all be fixed. And I knew we were going to struggle getting the gel coat into this corner here in the mould, so that is no drama. The gel coat's pretty thin and there's brush marks in places. That was all due to that issue with the gel coat softening up when I put the resin on. So not the end of the world, not the end of the world. But you know what, the shape's there, it's all in one piece. Yeah, we could have had a bit of a better finish on it, but in all intents and purposes it's quite a smooth finish. Tiny little bit of tickling with the sandpaper will sort that out, and I have a plan anyway. I didn't want this to be a white dashboard, so originally I was going to paint it, but actually what I'm thinking, or what I have been thinking since I've been building it, is I actually want to flock it. So what I'll do, it's just got some tiny pricks there in the gel coat, and that again is that gel coat softening up. This was one of the other problem areas I had along here in the mould, so that was to be expected as well. Overall, that isn't too bad. That's my first effort. So quite happy with that. Let's get it trimmed up. So yeah, the plan is to I'll smooth it all over. We'll fill in some of these imperfections, and then I'm actually going to flock it. That's what I'm thinking of doing. So I'll get a flock kit and we'll do a little video tutorial of flocking the dash. But there we go, people. Start to finish, made a dashboard, made something, produced it from nothing. Pretty happy with that. That's my first major, well, that's my first ever fiberglass in making a mould and producing the finished product. Car's there. We've got plenty of other work to do, so let's get cracking.